trip. Both losses to last-place teams, but Chicago's no place to get healthy. The Blackhawks are outstanding at home and involved in that dogfight with the Blues in the Norris. In Chicago, a Chicago fan, Jim Belushi, was checking out the game. Greg Gilbert now steals the puck behind the Ranger goal and slides a pass to Wayne Presley, waiting on the doorstep in Chicago, out in front in the second period, 2-0. Now Steve Larmer sends the pass to Jeremy Roenick, who gets it to Michel Goulet at the goal mouth. John Van Beesbrook made the first stop, but Goulet sticks home the second chance. 3-0 Chicago on the power play. In the third, Michel Goulet circling near the goal, sends it back to Larmer, who one-times it past Van Beesbrook. 5-2 Chicago, and that's the final. Steve Larmer with 2 goals and an assist. The Blackhawks make a move in the standings. Detroit.
2 games, 2 losses, and into the Chicago Stadium tonight against the Blackhawks, who not only lead the league in defense, but they've beaten the Rangers both meetings this year. Warm up the foghorn and sit down Joey Kocur. He'll get a 3-game suspension for his 5th stick incident of the year. There was hockey. Steve Larmer to Jeremy Roenick, to Michel Goulet on the doorstep. Second try, bangs it home, lights the lamp. The Hawks take a 3-0 lead. The Rangers come back. Chris King, not known for his scoring, bursting in, beating Eddie Belfour with a flip. 3-2 Blackhawks, but Adam Creighton slides the pass to Steve Thomas. Slam dunk it home. I love that horn on a Sunday night. It means we're in the Windy City. Chicago wins it 5-2. Steve Larmer, 3 points, goals 38 and 39, and the assist.
Whole NHL getting uptight and personal. The Blackhawks and Blues in the first of a rare Saturday-Sunday home-and-home series, and go at it. Indeed, they did. Here we are. Darren Kimball and Cam Russell, left, right, left, right, left, right, and then down. A lot of this tonight. First period, no score. The Blues on the power play. Scott Stevens down. Brett Hull, you know what happens. Automatic. 79th goal, 1-0 in favor of the Blues. Still in the first period. Adam Oates with the giveaway. Steve Larmer says, thank you very much. Fights off the check. Comes on Pat Yablonski. Beats him easily, although Yablonski got a piece of it. 1-1 tie. Second period, we're tied at 2. Larmer again picks up the loose puck and snaps one right by Yablonski again. The Blackhawks 3-2 lead. They held on to win it. They lead the Blues by 3 in the North, and their 63 points is the overall leader. Imagine them getting the home ice advantage and playing in the Chicago Stadium. On the scoreboard, moving along, Jimmy Carter.
Story at the stadium, the Hawks and Blues literally brawling from the word go, and right now in the second period, the Hawks lead it 4-2. The Hawks pulled out to a 3-2 win last night. They kept that momentum going tonight in the first period when Chris Chelios got loose and beat Pat Jablonski. A jam-packed house, and the Hawks were up 1-0. St. Louis tied it, then one of many melees broke out. Looks like a preview to the Tyson Ruddock fight tomorrow night. Anyway, they're in the second period, and it's 4-2. Blackhawks in the second. College hoops, the NCAA tournament.
The Blackhawks won a slugfest in St. Louis. Tonight, the 2 teams picked up where they left off, as it was fists of fury in Chicago Stadium. Another night at the fights. The Blues' Glenn Featherstone with a sweater over his head, but he's still swinging away. He wants a piece of somebody, maybe the Hawks' Keith Brown. Also some good hitting. The Blues' Dave Lowry rocks Doug Wilson along the boards. Mike Keenan likes this kind of hockey, though. Second period, another brawl. Dave Manson of the Blues, Scott Stevens square off. The 2 coaches talking about it. Keenan and Brian Sutter discussing things, and look at Stevens go away, showing some blood. Back to hockey now. There was some hockey played. Third period, 5-4 Hawks. Dirk Graham to Greg Gilbert. He beats Pat Yablonski. 6-4 Chicago is your final. The Hawks with a 5-point lead in the Norris now on St. Louis, and an NHL best in points, 5 ahead of St. Louis, Boston, and Calgary. That's the
Brett Hull notched his 79th of the year, but the Blackhawks stopped his teammates in Chicago's 3-2 victory. Sunday night, the second-place Blues hope to return the favor on the front-runners' home ice. In the Norris division, they were at the stadium. St. Louis, they were on a 5-game winless streak, and Eddie Belfour, he'll get his shares of MVP votes. Referee Bill McCreary, a busy man. Tonight, Glenn Featherstone, Keith Brown, trying to fight through the officials. Darren Kimball, Jeremy Roenick getting involved. The Blackhawk bench wanting to come out on the ice, but keeping their composure. Adam Oates, Troy Murray face-to-face. 6 players ejected. Then the Blackhawks bench did empty. It got out of control. Again, Scott Stevens, Dave Manson going toe-to-toe. Stevens was among 6 more players ejected. 12 in all. Say goodbye to Stevens. To the game action, Dirk Graham in alone. Pat Jablonski comes up big. Minutes later, Doug Wilson shoots. Jablonski with the save. Graham puts in the rebound for 2 Hawks. But then the Blues will tie it up. Adam Oates, Paul Cavallini, nothing but net. The Hawks come back. Dirk Graham, Greg Gilbert, he beats Jablonski, and the Hawks beat the Blues again, By the final of 6-4, Brett Hall did not pick up a goal. He did have an assist. The Hawks lead the Blues by 5 points in the Norris Division.
Suspensions after Sunday's battle royal against the Blues. More on that in a bit. Meantime, the Hawks are taking on the Devils at the stadium. By the way, the Hawks have won 5 in a row going into this one. So let's pick this one up in the first period. Ed Belfour continues to amaze everybody. Check out the mess in front of the net. Eddie decides to jump on it and keep the Devils off the board. Hawks scored the only goal of the game in the first period. Bob McGill will try to get it past Sean Burke in traffic. Mike Hudson is there to knock it in for a 1-0 score. It is still 1-0. It's in the second period. As I mentioned, the NHL came down hard. Mike Peluso of the Blackhawks and Kelly Chase of the Blues each got 10-game suspensions for their part in Sunday's mess. Blues defenseman Scott Stevens was suspended for a couple of games. St. Louis coach Brian Sutter was fined $2,500, but Hawks coach Mike Keenan was nailed with a $5,000 fine. The 12 players that were kicked out of the game were fined $100 apiece, and each team was levied $10,000 fines. Let's check out
to the penalty box. Over 2 hours of penalties in this game. The Hawks' Stu Grimson punches the Stars' Shane Churla right in the nose. Second period, 1-0 Minnesota. Paul Gillis to Mike Hudson, who whiffs, but still beats Brian Hayward. Weak. We're tied at 1. Now watch Paul Hudson score again. Crank up the foghorn. The Hawks led it 4-1. Minnesota was upset. Now you're going to see two guys who have no redeeming social value. Basil McRae in the green. Bob McGill in the white. What a fight. Tyson, get out of here. More action in this fight. Troy Murray knocks in his own rebound. That made it 5-1. Guess what the final was? Chicago 5, Minnesota 4. But they did win, and the Blackhawks now have the best record in the entire NHL.
First division crown tonight. The Hawks win and the Blues lose. The party is on at the stadium. Well, the Hawks had the Leafs on their ice, and they held up their end of the bargain. Manson with a couple of goals. Chicago now unbeaten in 10. But the
and it ends in a tie. Toronto and Chicago. Dave Manson with a pair of goals. The Blackhawks win it 5-3.
Puts Chicago up 1-0. The Hawks took a 2-1 lead.
Supremacy. It's on Chicago after Brett Hall and company nipped the North Stars. We'll take a look at... No way, they handled Detroit. And what a heads-up play here by Doug Wilson. That puck is heading toward the net, but Wilson flying in behind Eddie Belfour to turn it away, preserve a 1-1 tie in the second. Then Paul Eisenbach sent us up Steve Yzerman, who skates in on Eddie Belfour, but Belfour was having none of that. This stays tied at 1. In the third, the Red Wings with some sloppy clearing. They try that clearing try is taken by Dirk Graham, who beats Glenn Hanlon for his second of the game. It's 5-1 Chicago in front. And then the final few seconds would tick away, and Chicago begins celebrating as the Blackhawks take the ice after their 5-1 victory. And the Blackhawks winning the Norris Division Championship, their first ever President's Trophy for most points with 106. The Blues second with 100.
Chicago, thanks to a big performance from an old teammate of theirs. Dirk Graham scored 2 goals, one on the breakaway there to give the Hawks a 5-1 win and the Norris Division title, and $200,000 for winning the President's Trophy for most points in the NHL. And so the North Stars are off to the Windy City for round 1.
The best record in the league, 38 points ahead of Minnesota, and yet Minnesota surprised the Blackhawks in Game 1 of their best-of-7 Norris Division Series by upsetting Chicago at home Thursday night. Saturday, the Blackhawks were looking to get even on their home ice. We'll pick up the action. Before the game, Mike Keenan sitting near the organ, hoping his team's play would be sweet music to his ears. Jeremy Roenick hits Kurt Giles, and then Roenick and Greg Gilbert double-team Sean Chambers. Chicago then uses some finesse. Chris Chelios feeds Steve Larmer. Blackhawks lead it 1-0 after 1. Second period now. Chicago up 2-0. Jeremy Roenick walks through the defense, finds Warren Reichel for his first goal of the season. Blackhawks lead it 3-0. Third period, Minnesota gets a penalty shot. Basil McRae, normally known for hitting, actually scores on the penalty shot. 4-1, Chicago still leading. Belfour was sharp despite that penalty shot. Art Tenorti, the slap shot. Belfour, the save. Chicago wins it 5-2. Blackhawk head coach Mike Keenan, you may recall, promised some wholesale changes, and he delivered, including Warren Reichel, who played in only 2 NHL games prior to Saturday's playoff contest.
We'll pick it up first period already, 3-2 Minnesota. Blackhawks fail to clear the puck. Ryan Propp feeds Dave Gagne, who beats rookie Ed Belfour. 4-2 North Stars. And Mike Keenan, Captain Hook, pulls Belfour, replaces him with Dominik Hasek, making his playoff debut. Hasek is greeted by Mike Modano. Tough way to come into the Stanley Cup. Welcome. 5-2 North Stars after 1. Hawks dead, right? No. Second period, it's 5-3. Doug Wilson, perennial all-star, slap shot, goal. It's 5-4. Minnesota goalie John Casey is given the hook. Brian Hayward replaces him. What's going on here? Minutes later, here comes Ed Belfour. You need a scorecard. Come on. Early third period, 5-4 Minnesota. Mike Hudson stopped by Hayward, but Steve Thomas puts in the rebound. We're tied at 5. Now, controversy. Jeremy Roenick's first shot is blocked, but his second shot beats Hayward. Although Mike Hudson is clearly in the crease, Hayward claims interference. He was right. The referee blew it. Dennis Burrell blew it. But Chicago beat Minnesota because they blew it. They had a 5-2 lead and couldn't win, so tough luck. Blackhawks lead the series 2-1. Game 4 will be at the Met Center in Bloomington on Wednesday, and Game 4 in the Wales